Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today I want to talk about 5 altcoins that have now broken out of their bases, their stage 1s, and are now in an uptrend. We're going to be showing you this from a technical analysis perspective. We are going to be using stage analysis, kind of giving a brief introduction to stage analysis and showing you some other examples of things that we were calling last year in the same fashion that we're calling these 5 altcoins to have now broken out and been an uptrend, actually playing out. I think when it comes to technical analysis on YouTube, it can often seem like voodoo or witchcraft and kind of astrology and those kind of things, but actually technical analysis does work. I am a champion of it. I am living proof of it. I do have a Patreon where we teach stage analysis in more depth, and also you guys can unlock my own portfolio, see how well we're doing, and kind of follow along from that point of view. It's not for everybody. We do talk about lots of things for free here on YouTube because we love you guys. It is because of you guys that we make these videos, and I want to identify 5 altcoins that have broken out of their stage 1 bases and are now in stage 2, which is an uptrend, which in my own personal humble opinion indicates that they are going higher in regards to price. Now, some of them have formed structure within that stage 1 base that allows us to predict higher prices in a similar fashion to what we did for Bitcoin back in 2023 when we were entering it around about 15, 16K. There's very few people that can make that claim, but we have and are making that claim publicly, and all the proof is of course in the pudding. And that's the thing with technical analysis. If technical analysis didn't work, we wouldn't be championing it, we wouldn't be teaching it, we wouldn't be promoting it if it didn't work. There's no sense in me doing that, and ultimately, you know, you guys are the ultimate judge of it. So what I want to do to kind of start the video off is to look at Bitcoin and look at what we were looking at for Bitcoin back in 2023 using stage analysis, using traditional technical patterns, the old school technical analysis, and I have many books behind me on it. It works. You know, it's the same things that institutional traders use. They play to levels, they play to targets of these patterns. These people that try and put complex indicators over everything, we do use some indicators like the RSI and the historic volatility, and of course volume by price and volume. Volume is important. There are indicators, typically the older ones, that are magnificent and that work, but perhaps not for, they're kind of secondary to the price action and sort of derived price action technical analysis. You know, we kind of use indicators to back up what we're looking at technically that's been given via price action. So let's start by looking at Bitcoin and going back in time before we dive into these 5 altcoins to kind of make things make a little bit of sense and show you exactly what we're looking at. This was Bitcoin, and what we were looking at for Bitcoin was an inverse head and shoulders, which you can see clearly drawn here. And also this resistance point. So we do have this broader head and shoulders that we're now in. You know, we had predicted from this head and shoulders a target around about $42,000. And ultimately we'll be using stage analysis. Stage analysis uses things like the 30-weekly moving average. It's not going to be a deep dive in that. You can go and buy Stan Weinstein's book, who essentially fathered stage analysis, somebody I've learned a lot from, a very old school trader. You can see this is kind of what we were looking at. And we would identify this area here, which was clearly a support at one point and then flipped into resistance. So this line here that you can see as basically the resistance, and the stage 1 base was forming beneath this. Now, once we broke this on volume, which you want to see, and we're seeing for all the 5 altcoins that we're looking at, we were then in a stage 2, which is the uptrending stage of a market. Stage analysis breaks the market into 4 different stages. Stage 1 is the base. Stage 2 is the stage that I think many of these altcoins are in, which is the uptrend. Stage 3 at the top. Stage 4, of course, is the downtrend. You don't want to buy anything in stage 4. You want to sell something in stage 3. You want to look to potentially start accumulating in stage 1, and then certainly on the break into stage 2 to get the most bang for your buck. But I don't want to go too much into that. So let's go ahead and take the draw off and play what happened with Bitcoin. And this is essentially the roadmap that we see coming for these altcoins. Now, it's very common when you break out of a base, when you break out of a resistance level, that you do come back for to find it as resistance. It's the kind of second chance. It's the gift that you are given. And you can see Bitcoin did that not just once, but twice. And then look at how we progress towards our first target over here. You can see Bitcoin makes it, runs into it, and this is the area that it starts to pull back, as if by magic. We then had some smaller continuation pattern here that set us up broadly. But this is essentially what Bitcoin has done. And the market moves up typically in the same fashion it moved down, typically in the same fashion. We had an inverse head and shoulders for Bitcoin. It could be a double bottom like what we're seeing on these altcoins, so on and so forth. You know, there's typically technical patterns that you can kind of look at within the broader kind of macro view of stage analysis. And you can see this is absolutely textbook. It's very similar to where Amazon, which is a little bit further ahead, is currently at. So you can see Amazon, inverse head and shoulders, break, retest. Bitcoin's kind of doing the same thing. It wasn't just Bitcoin and things we were looking at. We could have shown you many examples. This was our stage one base for Microsoft, which gave us the target here that got hit last year for us, and now it's gone on higher. This is the kind of trajectory Bitcoin and these altcoins are at. It wasn't just at the S&P. Most of you will remember my call on this. Stage one pace, so on and so forth. Now let's talk about the 5 altcoins that we have for you and where they're currently at. And the first one that I want to identify is HBAR, which is Hedera Hashgraph, a project that we are fundamentally massively bullish on. And let's put the stage one base into this. You can see this is your stage one base in the form of a double bottom. There is a projected target you can derive from this double bottom that's going to see it go towards the 30 cents mark. So this has broken on volume, very textbook, very key. The next altcoin that we have for you is the internet computer, which again, double bottom-esque. You'll have a bullish divergence on here that you won't get from the historic volatility. You will get it. We're not going to go into historic volatility and what that indicates, but you had a bullish divergence here. You had the same thing for Bitcoin, by the way, which is how we managed to catch Bitcoin at sort of 15, 16K. Remember, it's all publicly up there. You can see we've got historic volatility on here again. Let's go ahead and bring the RSI up. Bullish divergence, that kind of signals that a broader trend is subject to change when the momentum behind a move doesn't quite fit in with the price action. There's a divergence, there's a difference, there's a discrepancy. But you can see this is your base for ICP. And we're now looking at the same thing for Bitcoin to play out. You can see clear resistance, now flipped in support. You break that resistance, that then comes and acts as support if we drop down the smaller time frames. This stuff is simply textbook, ladies and gentlemen. It's a really good way to follow. You can see the break was on volume. You then come back for a retest and you're now on your way to higher ground. Falling wedge-like structure, 3 impulses within that, volatility reducing, and then you break even higher. So we've given HBAR. ICP is the next one. We have a short-term target for ICP around about $24, and then we're potentially looking to go to the 200s if it sets up a Bitcoin-esque or Amazon-esque pattern. But we'll cover that when it plays out. And remember, we have given price predictions for both HBAR, ICP. The one that we're going to move on to now is Near Protocol, which we haven't given a price prediction for. We don't have one yet, but you do have present your bearish divergence, or bullish divergence, I should say. We haven't got the RSI up, but you can see if we pop the levels on here, this is essentially what pinned you. Again, you break it on volume. You saw a lot of volume on the sort of run up to this, suggesting insiders are accumulating. That's what when you're looking at a chart, you're really looking at votes. You're looking at what people are doing with their money. It's why we champion technical analysis over fundamental trading. I think I can outperform fundamental traders just looking at the charts because it's a visual representation. The charts will show you what's fundamentally there and what's fundamentally coming way before the news ever breaks. So, and this is because insiders are privy to information. So you can see the break of this was on volume. It was elevated volume. Again, retest, you're noticing a similar thing. HBAR hasn't quite come into retest, but ICP did. And now you're in a broader uptrend that is going to see the price of this going higher, in my opinion. So we've given HBAR, ICP, Near Protocol in stage 2s. And of course, we are going to be talking about AVAX. You see a similar thing. You see inflated volume on the break, a retest, and then you see a springboard off of it. This will likely set up and square up and see it go further into continuation. Remember, key levels do act as that. You want to look back when it comes to drawing levels. You can see where you've interacted. So this is now in an uptrend. AVAX, we know what happened with the chain yesterday. Still, I don't think this is going to have much of an implication on the price. It's likely going higher, in my opinion. So we've given HBAR, which is Hedera, the internet computer, ICP, Near Protocol, Near, and AVAX. And the third or the fifth and final one that I have for you is the graph. Again, very, very similar double bottom-esque structure. You had a falling wedge in here that I was identifying with my Patreons. We were looking at the potential for an inverse head and shoulders. That target's now been met. Where did you run into resistance? You can see clear resistance over here that you've ran into. You've came back. You can see the break of this resistance, this stage one base, essentially took place on volume. It took place on volume here. Because these are altcoins, a very schizophrenic market is the crypto space. Comes back for a bit of a retrace. Elliottians would sort of 1, 2, and then look for the third wave now. But you can see, in my opinion, this is another broken out chart that is set for continuation. And that is the graph, which is ticker is GRT. So these are just 5 of many altcoins that we are identifying now being in stage 2s and expecting further upside continuation for. Stage 2 is that uptrending phase, in the same way that we've just seen Bitcoin play out. And actually, what we like to do is compound reasons to expect what we're looking at to play out. And when we address the altcoin market, and let's go over to Bitcoin dominance now, we do believe that Bitcoin dominance, in line with what we're looking at, is on the cusp of rolling, having invalidated market structure, topping out. This going down is going to mean Bitcoin's going up, because if Bitcoin was going down, the altcoins wouldn't be, because Bitcoin is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships. Ultimately, this coming down is going to see altcoins do well. We also have things like others dominance, which suggests that things outside of the top 10 are going to do really well. Again, similar pattern. We could use stage analysis on this also. Inverse head and shoulders, bigger head and shoulders. You've broken it. You've come back for a retest. This is now going to shoot 20%, which means that altcoins outside the top 10 are going to go in ground against the likes of Bitcoin. That's not going to be happening in an environment where Bitcoin's going down. This stuff all supports our thesis on that we're technically identifying on these 5 altcoins. It's external, but it's also technical. We also have all the fundamentals, the macro, the overall 360 analysis of the markets. That doesn't just come from crypto. It comes from broader markets. It comes from the Forex markets. You name it, we cover it on this channel. Guys, if you enjoy this content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. Don't forget to become a subscriber. And if you want to take things one step further, do become a patron. We do teach stage analysis. We do regular updates on everything, which we don't put on YouTube. And you'll unlock my entire portfolio when you become a member. That's really all I've got for you in this video, guys. If you've enjoyed the content, like is greatly appreciated. So as a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.